Alright, welcome back. So one of the questions that I was asked was about increase and decrease and being able to enter them into Hawks the proper way. So I wanted to go ahead and just look at a quick example. I pulled this straight out of the Hawks homework, so it should be almost identical to what it is that you have to accomplish. And so here, what the question was asking was, it's asking you to determine the domain and the range for the following relation. Okay? Well, relation is just another fancy word for function. And in this one, you can see that we have a parabola. So there's a couple things that I would take note of myself before working the problem, which is we've got these arrows here. And what these arrows are telling us is they're actually telling us that we are traveling along this x-axis forever. So this arrow here is talking about positive infinity, and this arrow here is talking about the negative infinity. So we're traveling along that axis forever. And then the other thing that we have going on is the fact that we've got this range. And our range here, let me grab a different color. My range is the y values. So the first thing that you're going to want to note is you're going to want to note this point right here. Okay, so this point here is going to be the lowest point of your y value. And so notice this is occurring at y equals 3. And then also you want to note that because these arrows are going up, it means that you are traveling in the positive direction up through positive infinity. Okay, so what does this actually mean for your domain and your range? Well, my domain in this case is going to be exactly as you see it. I'm going to go from my negative infinity to my positive. Because what you need to remember is that you always want to go from your smallest, most negative to your largest or most positive. Okay, that is how you need to set up your interval. So you're always going to go from that smallest, most negative to your largest, most positive. Well, the same goes for your range. Okay, the only difference is your range is on the y-axis. So when we're talking about your range, in this case, we were talking about that we're starting at 3. Okay, so we are starting here at 3, and 3 is included, so 3, and we're going to go up to positive infinity. Okay, so again, we are using the y-axis here, y-axis values, and we are going again from your smallest to your largest. Okay, or you can think of it as you're going from your negative to the positive, depending on what your values are. Okay, so that is kind of a little quick snapshot on domain and range when you have a function or just a graph. Now, what happens if our graph looks like this one, where it's scattered? Well, it's going to be the same thing, where you need to remember that your domain is going to be your x-axis values. Okay. And so here you would simply need to look at what were the x-axis values I have. Well, you've got both the set and the graph, they matched each other. And so here my domain is just simply looking at a set of values. So here I have a 3 and a 3 and a 0 and a 2. So therefore I've got 0, 2, and 3. Okay. Now, the biggest thing that you want to keep in mind is no duplicates. What that means is you only want to write the values once. You don't want to write them more than once. Okay. Why? Well, we as mathematicians, so you included, are very lazy people. Therefore, we only need to write things once. So just because you have duplicates, well, it's already being included in that domain, so you don't need to write it more than once. Oh, so sorry. Allergies. Alright, now the other thing we have to look at is your range. So again, remember with your range, we are looking at your y-axis values. And so here, we've got a 3, a -1, a 3, and a -1. So again, keeping with the exact same thing, my range is going to be a set. And here, I'm not going to use any duplicates, but I have 3 and -1. Okay, so for this, that's all you have to do with your scatter plots. Okay, it's just simply write the values you have with their corresponding label. So domain is the x values, range is the y values. Okay. So I really hope that this has helped to clear up some of the domain and range questions that might be out there. If not, as always, please remember, use those discussion boards, send me emails, ask your questions, and when you're in those discussion boards, if you see a post that one of your classmates has made and you know how to answer it, please feel free to comment in and give your explanation of how to attack that problem or question. During this online class, we all need to kind of learn from each other, and one of the best things that can happen is if you all start communicating with each other. So use those discussion boards, make them be like your #1 place to go, especially if you have problems. And as always, make sure that you enjoy your math, and see you next time.